Hello, and welcome to my next tutorial on how to begin programming in Python. So I'm going to show you a couple websites here. The first one is just python.org. They have some examples here that are pretty advanced. I wouldn't worry about those. If you need to download it, you can come down here and you can see there's actually two versions. We have 2.7 and 3.5. So many times I'll just talk about version 2, which means 2.x. And many times I'll just say version 3, which will be 3.x. Many machines don't even have 3.5 yet because it's brand new, but they'll have usually a version of 3, and I'll show you that in a minute here. I'll give you a 2-minute brief overview of these, hopefully. So Python was started in 1996, and it's been around a long time. As you can imagine, lots has changed over the years in programming, as including in Python. Eventually, we needed a new version where we said things may not be backwards compatible anymore with 2.7. And you probably ask, why not make it backwards compatibility from 3 to 2.7? There's a bunch of reasons why. Just Google why break backwards compatibility. So eventually, the community made version 3. Version 2, though, is still very popular. It is supported to 2020, so it is supported for another 5 years. The hard and fast rule is if you can write it in Python 3, write it in Python 3. There's no excuse to say, I'm going to start a new project in 2.7 just because. There's no reason to do that. You need specific reasons like I need a legacy package that only works with 2.7, or I need specifically this to be 2.7 compatible. 99% of what I do is in Python 3 at this point. All right, on to the next website. This used to be called the Python 3 Wall of Shame. Now it is called the Python 3 of Superpowers because everything in green has been ported to Python 3. There are still some packages like the MySQL-Python package that is not compatible with Python 3 yet. As you can see, though, here, there's only a couple dozen red ones still. And chances are either that package is no longer supported or they're working on it, Python 3 compatibility, or there's an alternative package to that one that basically does the same thing. So there's definitely Python 3 MySQL packages already. This one's just not specifically supported yet in Python 3. So everything was in green is good. Red is lagging behind, but I wouldn't worry about it. The last site I'm going to show you real quick is the Wikipedia site about backporting. Now, you're probably asking, why am I showing you this? Well, there are still so many 2.7 developers as well as 2.7 code bases out there that some of the features and some of the stuff has been backported from Python 3 to Python 2. And the reason they do that is there's a bunch of reasons why. Some are features and some are just compatibility. And the first thing I'll show you actually coming up here in a minute is the compatibility between the two with the print statement. So actually, let's get started here. So I have two containers here. And this one just snapped out of place again. Let's clear this. Okay, so over here, let's make sure we have Python 2. So not all Linux distributions come with Python 2 anymore. So a lot of times you have to do apt-get install Python 2 or Python, and then you'll get Python 2.7.6. This is Ubuntu 14.04. And so we have Python 3 over here on the right, and that's 3.4.3. So you can see we're already a little behind in the versioning there. But this version's fine for most of my needs. And Python 2 is only basically used when I need to support legacy code or a legacy package. Okay, so over here on the left, let's just do print hello world, which is the same boring thing people do in every programming language when you go to learn it. Okay, it prints out hello world. Let's copy and paste this over here. Bad habit of copying and pasting code, and you think this would work, but it doesn't. So you can already see a problem between Python 2 and Python 3 is that the print statement doesn't work the same across each version. So, and it actually tells you here missing parentheses and call to print. So if we hit up and wrap this in parentheses, it will now work. So no parentheses over here, parentheses over here. Now, if we try parentheses over here on the left, this will also work. So you can see why this is a little confusing already. This does not work in Python 3. Both these work in Python 2. So actually, let's make this not work in Python 2. And we basically do that with what I was talking about, backporting. They backported. So it's called from future. You need double underscores here. Anytime you see this, is basically said this feature or whatever was written in Python 3 and then backported to Python 2. So we want from future import print function. Now when we do print this, it'll error out. Just like this over here errors out. So now they are exactly identical. So if I do this, this works. If I do this, this works. And I'll show you one more time. Print. My name is Dan. And this will work both spots. So the key is you have to use parentheses now here. If you don't, you get an error here. And in Python 3, even without you don't use the from future import stuff here, but you'll get missing parentheses here. So you want to make sure to use from future import print function in Python 2 scripts in order to get the same syntax from Python 2 to Python 3. All your tutorials for Python 2, though, will not contain this, usually will not contain this statement. This will also help you when you get ready to switch to Python 3. Imagine you have a giant script and you have to fix all your print statements. As long as they look like this with parentheses, you'll be in good shape. And you use this on Python 2, this print function. So that's a little brief discussion on the versioning between the two of them. So I don't need Python 2 anymore because everything I am doing is Python 3 now. So I'm just going to close that out. The next thing I wanted to show you is how do you get out of this prompt without just closing it out. Now, if you type exit, it actually tells you how to get out of it. If you use parentheses, so you do exit like this, it'll exit. But the fastest way is Control D. So you just hit Control D, and it'll go back to the prompt, and then you can hit up and go back in. All right, so I'm going to clear this and go back into Python 3. Okay, now we're going to talk about data types. There are the first one I'm going to talk about is string. A string is basically anything that's from empty, so no characters at all the way up to hundreds of characters. So like my name is a string, my last name is a string. Anything that you want to be able to print to the terminal or print to the screen, it needs to be a string. So I already showed you print hello world. So this is actually a string inside here. Now we're going to assign this string to a variable. And we're going to just do statement 1. Actually, we're going to just do first name equals Dan. And now we can do print first name without the quotes here. So now this gets replaced with Dan here. So we used, this is a string here, single quotes. You put the string inside of it, spaces around here, and then it gets assigned to this variable called first name. And now when we do print first name, you get Dan. Now, many times you need to know the type of the variable. So this variable is first name. And if you just pass it to type, it'll tell you the class is a string. So if you're ever confused on the data type coming in from whatever it is, and you can always find out the class of the variable here. So I'll just show you one more example. Last name equals Scheffner, and I can just do type last name. And that's also a string. Okay. So the first thing I want to do is show you how to print with a string plus, say we want to say extra stuff here. So we want to just do like print my name is. So this is a string. Then we put a plus, and then we put the variable we want. Then we put another plus, then we want a space, and then we want another plus, and we want to do last name plus, and we're going to put a period at the end. So this is basically saying my name is Dan, and then a space, and then Scheffner, and then a period. So since these are all strings, it formats fine and prints to the terminal fine. My name is Dan Scheffner. You can see that this is even a string here if you really wanted proof that it's a string. You don't even need to assign it a variable. It is still a class string here. So that's how to do a print with your text plus variables in your in the print statement. Okay. So now I want just to print out chef. How do I print what is called a substring of a string? And there's a pretty easy way to do that in Python. It's just last name. And then you want to do a bracket. And the first character we want to start with is 0. This is slot 0 essentially, where the S is. And we want to go to character 5. And basically N is character 5, but it won't print N. So it's basically going to just do chef here. And we want to print this. You want to wrap it, make sure you wrap it in parentheses. And now you'll get chef. So that's an easy way to say we want to skip the S now. You just put a 1 here, and you'll get H-E-F-F. Hef. So that's how to do a substring. Each character, so this is 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Each character, so if you just do 7, 7, actually you need at least one character. Let's do 8 here. This will be the last character. So, disregard that last character because I'm actually going to show you even a better way to do this in a second. Okay, so say that's how to do substrings. Say we need my last name to be uppercase. We just do last name dot upper. With pass it nothing here. And upper is basically a special they call them function or method on a string to do uppercase. And there's a bunch of these. So I can actually do, instead of upper, I can do is upper. Is it uppercase? And it'll actually tell me that no, it is not uppercase. It is false. So last name is still partially lowercase. So that's what's nice is that it has all these different types of functions you can actually call. And there's a whole list of them, and I'll put them in the show notes. So how about we do this? How about we do last name equals last name upper. So we're actually changing this to uppercase. And now what happens when we print last name dot is upper? Says true. Okay, so you can see how we can manipulate variables here as well as check certain things. This is upper. We're actually going to change this back now. And this whole time, these are all strings. Okay. The next thing I'm going to show you is how to find the index of a string. So say I want to know where NER starts in this string. You want to do print last name dot index, and we want to find NER. And that actually starts at character 5. Now, this is pretty simple, but you're asking why do we need to find the index? And I'll actually show you a better reason why. Say we have a sentence or a statement. So So I'm going to replace statement 1 with the quick brown fox jumps over the lazy brown dog. I don't think it had brown in there twice, but whatever. So we have this statement now. Say we want fox to dog. And we want to find that out programmatically instead of like, well, this is slot 0, 1, 2. We don't want to count all this all the time. We can actually do this programmatically. So we want print statement 1 dot index. And we want to find where fox is. And then we want a semicolon. And then we want to do the length of the statement. So the length, len, also is a special function. Just like type always returns the type. So you'll always see, like, when I do type here, you get class string. Always when you do len, you'll get the length of the state of the variable. So you want to make sure we close that print statement too. And now you'll get a syntax error because we want statement 1, and then we want a bracket, and then we want statement 1 again, and we want the index of fox, and then the length of the statement 1, bracket, parentheses, and now you'll get the right output. So you got fox jumps over the lazy brown dog. So that's how to do a substring programmatically. I'll show you the len statement. You'll see this always changes automatically. So if we add hello world to the end, you'll see this goes up. If I change back, it goes back down. And I left the period at the end there. Okay, so the next thing we want to do is many times you get data in from whatever, a Excel sheet, a website. Someone just emails you a file, and lots of times it has garbage at the end of the strings. So I like this sentence a little bit better. Pack my box with 5 dozen liquor jugs, and say this says ... So we have this another string, but this time it has a bunch of garbage at the end, and we want to remove that automatically. If it's a fixed length here, like these are 5 characters we want gone, there's actually a super simple way to do that. We just want print the statement. We want a bracket, and since we're starting at 0, you don't actually even need to put a number there. So there's a short one less thing to type. Just put a colon, and you want -5. And it's basically saying remove 5 characters from the end of this string. And now you'll get the string all cleaned up. So that's an easy way to clean up strings. Okay, the last thing I want to do with strings is, say I want to add this string to this. Usually what you would do is you want to do this statement equals this statement plus this statement. So you're saying these 2 strings equals into this one. There's actually a shorter hand way to do this where you don't have to type this every time. This is done so often, there's some shorthand to it. And I just hit Control-C to get out of that statement. So I didn't actually execute that, and I can show you here that these are still separate. Okay, so now we want to just do statement 1, and we want to do plus equals statement 2. So this command, this line of code, is equivalent to this line of code. So it actually helps you type less. So now when I press enter, and now I print out statement 1, you'll get the whole string here. Okay. This, I'll actually show you more examples of this in the future with different data types. So with strings, it just adds them together. You can see there was a space here. We probably should have fixed that. So if you actually want to do that I'll show you how to fix that real quick. Let's do equals here again. So we're going to set this back. And I need quote marks. Okay, so we're coming back to this statement here. We can actually put stuff in here that we want extra of. So say we want a space in between statement 2 and statement 1. We just put this in there. And now when we print statement 1, you'll have this space in here, unlike up here where it was back to back here. So that's how you can also add stuff when using this plus equals here. Many people don't know that you can do that. Okay, so on to the next data type real quick. We've dealt with string, but now say we have to deal with your age. So my age is 33. So we have age equals 33, and we have a type of int now versus string. So if I do age with single quotes and then do type age, you'll see I have a string here. But you want to use integers for whole numbers. So integers have to be whole numbers. They can't be fractions or decimals. So we want to do age equals 33. And now we can do age, say, how old will I be in 5 years? 38. How long have I been 21? 12 years. So you can see here, you can do math on integers. You can't do math on strings. So if I change this back and try to do this, you'll get this. Can't convert int object to string. So you can't do math on strings. You can only do math on integers. Now you're probably saying, well, how do I print out an integer if it's not a string? You can actually do a simple conversion of it. And I'm just going to copy and paste this because it's a pretty long statement and it's easy to screw up. So I just have print, my name is, this is a string. First name, Dan, that's a string. This is a string as well. Last name is a string. And my age is, that's a string. Now we get to the conversion part. We're basically saying we want integer to string and then print that out and it'll work. It says my name is Dan Scheffner and my age is 33. So I can actually even do math in here because this is, when it's inside here, it's an integer. As soon as it gets to the outside here and gets converted to a string, it'll like the conversion type and then it'll spit it out. And I have been able to drink for years. So now you can see we did some math, including the conversion to string. And now you have my name is Dan Scheffner, and I've been able to drink for 12 years. Basically, age minus 21. Okay, so that's a little bit about integers and how they can do math. An integer can be anything, a negative number. It can also be 0. And it also can be positive, of course. It can't be a decimal. It can't be a fraction. And we'll actually get into fractions and decimals in the next tutorial. Okay, one last simple, not simple, but different way to print this out. Instead of converting to a string here, we have actually a different syntax basically to do this. So we can just do print. And I'm going to talk about double quotes versus single quotes here in a second. But I want to first explain what we're doing here first and make sure I type this in correctly. Okay, so we start with the print statement and make sure we always use parentheses. And now we have a string. And this string contains these special curly brackets with 0, 1, 2 in it. And basically, these will be replaced with our variables that we're going to pass it. Just like this sentence up here, we had to do quote marks and plus signs. Here we have one continuous statement that actually looks a lot cleaner than all this up here. We do have to add some stuff to the end here to make it work. but it's pretty simple. So now we just do format, and we pass it what we want. So the first variable is going to be first name, the second variable is going to be last name, and the third is going to be age. And we want to close the print statement, and hopefully this will work. So what we're doing here is taking a string up to this point, and then we're actually calling the format function here, and then we're passing it 3 variables we want. And you'll get, my name is Dan Scheffner and my age is 33. You cannot do math on this because this is part of a string here and inside this clause. We could do math here because it was an integer inside here and then convert it back to a string. But here, it's all one continuous string. So you got to remember, whenever you see double quotes or single quotes, anything in between them is a string. So even if I did type, you'll get a string here. Quickly to talk about single quotes like I use up here versus double quotes like I did down here. The hard and fast rule is whenever I need a variable or something to be replaced with a variable, so for example this right here, first name is being injected or replaced with this curly bracket 0 curly bracket, I use double quotes. If there's no variables inside the string, I always use single quotes. So up here you see there's no variable right here, I use a single quote. I have these crazy brackets or these curly brackets and these numbers, I use double quotes. Single quotes will work here too, but that's the easy and fast rule to remember for most programming languages actually. Single quotes when there's no variables, double quotes when there's variables that need to be replaced. Okay, and essentially that is the first tutorial on how to use Python. I'll go briefly over the tutorial one more time. If you have Python 3, you don't need the from __ future _ import print function. If you're doing it on Python 2, make sure you do it on Python 2. So that when you go to print, that this is the only way it works. You should not be able to print hello world like this. This should error out on Python 2, so when you get ready to convert your script to Python 3, it'll be ready. The next thing I did was show you how to do variable assignments like this. We just change this to Bob, and I showed you how to do types. So this is a type function, and anytime you pass it to type, it'll return the type of it. So just like type, length is another function. So those two are similar in how they're called. Strings also have a number of methods or functions on them that will help you do other things to them. The next thing I showed you how to do was like the conversion from string to int. So if you have age equals 33 and you need to print my age is, you just want to do string age, and then it'll print it out correctly. And then you can also still do math on this, and it'll be fine. What else did I show you? Oh, the substring stuff. So anytime you have a substring, you can even do stuff like this. I know this is a little strange to do. You wouldn't really type this in. But you know that this is a string, and this is part of the string stuff. So this will even work. This used to be a variable. Now we just... and I showed you the index thing too. So we could always do print index, find me NER for me. And it starts at 5. So that way you can look up the index. I also showed you the length. We went over the strings. The last one I showed you was the so let's do first name last name, print first name, and now we have, oh, looks like I screwed up. Yep, I screwed this up. So I want first name equals Dan. This is what I was trying to do. Last name is probably still fine. Okay. So you can see here I missed plus equals. I only did equals. So you want to make sure you do the right assignment here or it's going to break. So I wanted to add first name and last name to first name. Print first name, and now it's fixed. So these assignments here with this plus equal is very important on how that works. That's pretty much it for the first tutorial. I hope this helps. Please subscribe, and I will have another tutorial out for Python soon. Thanks for watching. Talk to you guys soon.